What's up, Bomb Squad? It's Jason Sircone back with you here on Podcasting Strategy Simplified. It's episode 105, and today I'm answering another one of your burning questions. Today's question on the table: how can I make my podcast conversations sound more natural and less scripted? Now, it's human nature to over-prepare. When you're coming into your podcast recording, you more than likely want to have enough content in front of you or enough material in front of you to make sure that you can carry on the best possible conversation with your guest. Or even if you're doing this in a solo environment and you're making solo content to where you're just speaking to your audience one-on-one like I'm doing with you today, you want to make sure that you have enough to talk about. So when you're getting started, it's natural that you over-prepare and write down way too many questions or way too many speaking points. I've been there. I know this from experience. I remember, I can take you back and just remember clear as day, one of my past podcasts, Evolution of Brand, I used to meticulously plot out like 15 to 20 questions, and they were very well worded. My whole idea was that every question was one of those things that would make the audience go, that's really good, and make the guest go, damn, no one's ever asked me that before. And then they'd launch into a story. Now, did I accomplish that every time? Of course not. But that was my thinking. Every time I wrote a question, I wanted it to be so well worded that was what it resulted in for my guest and for my audience. And what I learned over time was at that point, I was probably around the 6 or 7 year mark of my podcasting tenure. And I was getting better at having natural conversations. So I'd have all these questions in front of me and I'd start talking to the guests and we'd break out into conversation and I'd use maybe 3 of the questions, 4 of the questions. But for a while, I still kept preparing questions. Oh, like way too many. And then I just one day I said, why am I doing all this extra work? What I'm going to spend my time on is getting to know my guests a little bit more. And now I'm going to cut this number of questions in half. And that's what I did. So now I prepared myself in a different way. And I used my own conversation abilities and communication skills to say, these questions are here. I'm going to ask as many as I need to. And then I'm just going to have a conversation and focus on what the guest is saying back to me. And then I realized that even if I would prepare 6 questions, I was maybe asking 2 or 3. So what I finally said was, I'm going to try something. It might seem a little bit bold to you as I say this, but it was something I needed to challenge myself on. And it's absolutely guided my podcasting structure ever since. I just said, forget the questions. I'm just coming into every recording session with the mindset of active listening and having a conversation as if this person is my best friend. I would prepare ahead of time. This wasn't like, okay, let's just forget the preparation time. I wanted to know who I was talking to, but I didn't want to have scripted questions. Now, where I'm at now, over 11 years in podcasting, this is a skill that you can develop if you emphasize it. But what I would recommend to you, if you want to sound less scripted and sound more natural, focus on your active listening skills. And if you are looking to do more solo content, which I recommended on last week's 5-minute question episode, make sure you are focusing on talking to one person. That's all I ever think about. I talk to one person. Now, this naturally becomes a product that more people listen to, but in the moment, I always want to be having a conversation with that one person that's right in front of me. And today, that's you. When I have a guest, it's that guest. But I'm focusing more on what they're saying and what can we do to keep things as interesting and engaging as possible for us in the moment, but also for the audience when the time comes. So that requires keeping things on track, making sure that we have a clear path of where we want to go and not trying to go too far away from that path, because naturally you're going to venture a little bit off path from time to time, but you don't want to let it derail so bad that the audience loses track of what you're talking about. So my recommendation to you, if you want to sound more natural and less scripted, start bringing less questions to the interview with you and slowly trim it down over time. If you prepare 10, cut it down to 6 or 7. See how many of those questions you ask, because if you start focusing on active listening and actually having a conversation, you may find that you only ask 3 to 4, and then you can slowly trim those back. Now, if you don't want to fly without a net, I completely understand that. So you could try it 100% unscripted like I do, or my better recommendation, at least for now, instead of making questions that are drawn out, like I said before, 15 to 20 at a time, maybe make 5 to 6 bullet points of the main topics and the main themes that you want to talk about on that episode. So you make sure that you focus on those, you get those in, and you might not get to all of them, but that's okay. At least you have a bit of a guide. And then one day you may say, you know what, I'm ready to remove the net and I'm going to do it. But the less you script, the more engaging your content will become. It takes time, it takes practice, but if you start emphasizing your conversation skills, which I believe me, if you've done any podcasting, you have them. You've developed them and you probably don't even realize it. Even if you haven't done any podcasting yet, you more than likely have some skills that you can tap into. You just have to get over that initial obstacle of maybe feeling a little nervous about being on the microphone and on the camera. All of these things that I've talked about today are items that I've built into my new 90-minute coaching modules. You can go to bombtrackmedia.com/services to learn more about these offerings. But I have one called Podcast Hosting Simplified, and that program is designed for us to work one-on-one together to help improve your hosting skills. So looking at how you can be less scripted, looking at how you can be more natural, and I can teach you some things that I've worked on over the years that can make you a better communicator on and off the microphone. Bombtrackmedia.com/services is where you can learn more. And with that, I'm going to close down episode 105 of Podcasting Strategy Simplified. If you've got a burning question that you would like featured on the show, find the SpeakPipe link in the show notes. You can record a quick message, send it my way, and I will make sure that I answer that question on an upcoming episode of Podcasting Strategy Simplified. And with that, we're done for today, my friend. Until our paths cross again on the next episode of Podcasting Strategy Simplified, my name is Jason Sircone, reminding you that podcasting isn't easy, but it doesn't need to be complicated. I'll see you next time.